the headline at the moment is the price of calves in March. We probably had a similar conversation with our dairy calf to beef farmers last year. They commented that we'd buy calves possibly cheaper in alternative sources, and we probably made the same argument back. If they're happy with the quality of the calf, if they're happy with how well the calf is reared, and the management of the calf, it's probably worth giving that a small bit extra. That was last year, and probably similar note this year for dairy farmers that are happy with the beef farmer. They'll come in and take the calves when they need the calves moved on. Like that relationship is definitely worth a fair bit to both parties, I think. Like,
calf sales are beginning to increase in size and markets are very strong compared to previous years at the moment, albeit before the big upsurge in numbers for sale start to appear. Today I'm joined by Tommy Cox, Dairy Beef 500 Farm Advisor, to discuss the topic of calf sales, and I started by asking Tommy to outline what dairy farmers can do to have their calves looking their best when it comes to the day of sale.
it's a particularly busy time for dairy farmers. A high number of cows calving in a short period of time is the reality of probably what's happening on a lot of farms. So look, getting the first 24 hours of the calf's life cycle right is critical to the overall performance of that calf going forward. So it's the same old message, but I suppose the colostrum, the colostrum is the number one. It's the number one probably source of energy for the calf to get up and move, but it's the number one source of antibodies for that young-born animal, and it gets the calf off to a good start. So getting that colostrum in early, getting enough of it in, and ensuring that the calf gets off to the best possible start. So you're typically your 1, 2, 3 rule. The first feed within 2 hours of 3 liters, and that's a critical message. Obviously, then good husbandry practices around the whole area around the calf, and so the calf calves down to a good fresh bread of straw. Straw is going to be your probably it's one of your probably best natural disinfectant ways, because it keeps the calf up off the bacteria. And then obviously good husbandry practice such as dipping the navels or spraying the navel with some sort of a disinfectant to prevent any infection entering through that area. So that's just all basic stuff. But when the thing is so busy, farmers hardly get time. But just them few little things, I suppose, directly when the calf is born, and then I suppose as the calf gets older, ensuring that a high level of hygiene is kept on farm, adequate straw is used. Some farmers that we're working with are buying calves off dairy farmers that actually have already vaccinated the calf for pneumonia with an intranasal, which will cover RSV and PI3. They are products out there that can be given from a day old. So that's working well on some farms as well, and beef farmers are happy, to pay that bit extra for the calf that is vaccinated, because it can possibly mean that there'll be less issues with that calf in regards to pneumonia going forward.
Yeah, I suppose, Tommy, it's as you said, there's a lot of the cows calved at this stage, so the horse is gone, you'd nearly say, in terms of talking about the colostrum, but in reality, there's probably the bulk of the beef calves are actually going to start to come now in the next couple of weeks on a lot of farms. So it's a worthwhile reminder in relation to keeping that effort up around the colostrum piece, as calving kind of slows down and so forth, that people don't take their eye off the ball.
Yeah, definitely. Look, it's definitely, but I suppose as you say, yeah, what's is a fair percentage of the calving done already. But then I suppose the overall general management of the calf, be it farmers that are feeding them whole milk or they're feeding the milk replace, that they are keeping that feeding consistent. And look, at the reality are they're looking after these beef bred calves in a similar fashion than they're looking after their replacement dairy heifer or calves. So whatever feeding program they have them on, to keep it consistent, introduce concentrates, and ensure that the environment the calves are in is as good as possible that they have on the farm.
Yeah, very good. Just the final point on the colostrum though, Tommy, like predominantly a lot of the farms that you're dealing with in the program tend to be buying off farm. And without naming names, obviously, have you had experiences of where that colostrum piece isn't been done well on the dairy farm and has had an impact on your Dairy Beef 500 farms, and subsequently those farmers haven't gone back to buy calves from those farms?
We would have had issues previously, I suppose, back in the early stages of the program, where farmers were buying calves. Their immune systems were down. There's a few calves farmers that would have taken blood samples to check immunoglobulin levels, and that would have been particularly low. So dim farmers, in general, in some cases, they avoided, going back to purchase calves off dim farms. But other farms had the conversation with the dairy farmer about, trying to improve that management around the first couple hours after birth to get colostrum in. And I suppose it was a sort of a 50-50. Some places the conversation was had to improve it. Other cases, some farmers, would have been reluctant to go back and purchase calves from them farms where issues were. Like Scour, given that calf, the colostrum is going to be the first bit of immunity for that calf. It gives them the first start, it gives them the antibodies against Scour, against your rotavirus, coronaviruses, E. coli, particularly if you're vaccinating. There's no point vaccinating a cow unless your calf is getting the colostrum through that passive transfer. Similar with your pneumonia, to give that calf an immune system to be able to fight off these infections. And the colostrum, I suppose, is the first step on that. So we would have farmers that would have been reluctant to go back. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so I suppose, as I said there a minute ago now, a lot of the guys that you're working with are buying direct from farms. So how is that going to change maybe, or will it change this year in relation to the change in price, or what's your thinking? And have you been talking to the lads about sourcing calves at the moment?
Sure, it's a fair point, and as you said, there's it's probably the perfect storm at present. Calving is delayed slightly on some farms right around the country, so calf availability is scarce, and we're probably in the midst of an unprecedented or unforeseen, definitely beef price increase in recent weeks and in recent months. So it's creating the perfect storm as regards calf price. Our farmers are purchasing calves at the moment. As I said, a lot of our farmers have been dealing with dairy farmers the last 4, 5, 6 years, or even longer in some cases. Um, there is extra be given for calves, but there isn't a massive amount extra being given for calves because, like, there's a lot of inputs to go into this animal before they're finished as a beef animal in 2 years down the road, and none of us can foresee, what the price is going to be at that stage. So if to give too much, day one and beef prices decrease, the profitability of that animal is going to be well eroded. So to answer your question, they are still maintaining the relationship with farmers. They're buying with farmers, they're working with them farmers, they're getting healthy, well-reared calves off, and they are happy to pay, probably for the early maturing type calf, they're probably happy to pay maybe 50, 60 euros for the calf. And for that Frisian animal, they're probably happy to pay a similar amount extra as well for that 40, 50 euros. We see probably less Frisian calves available at the minute with the increased use of sex semen across farms. Um, whether that's um, whether that's going to, probably further increase the price of that black and white Frisian bull calf, it's hard to know going forward. But they are having the conversation with the farmer, and what our farmers are doing. They probably stayed with these dairy farms through, poor beef prices when the calves mightn't have been as valuable, or there mightn't have been such a demand for calves. And in most cases, the dairy farmer is rewarding them farmers, with not increasing the price too much.
Yeah, I think that's an important thing to focus on there, Tom, isn't it? The relationship between people, and that, as I said, like there's definitely big headlines on any media in relation to calf prices at the moment, but one has to bear in mind that maybe when calves were only making 50 euro, and we could be talking about Angus calves, maybe perfectly good quality calves making 30 to 50 euro in the marts last year, these people might have been getting a bit extra for them at that stage. So, one turn or one favor or one pet's the next fella on the back type scenario. So, and how critical actually, Tommy, from your perspective, is that calf purchase price to the actual end result that the lads will get out of it?
Your typical 300 kilo carcass are there or thereabouts. If to give an extra 50 euros or so, you're probably talking 20 cents a kilo in the finished animal. So that's what you're talking about. Given probably 100 euros extra for a calf, it's one way or the other, it's going to probably add around close to 35 to 40 cents a kilo on that finished animal. So, granted, if the beef price stays at the level we're at, we will be able to take that price increase. But if beef price goes back to more traditional levels, it's the profitability of that system is going to be eroded. Like we see our farmers, it's they're rearing these animals for 2 years, and there's a high level of input going into these animals, and the margins on some farms isn't massive on a per calf basis, and they are doing it relatively efficiently. So, the purchase price day one definitely has a role to play in the profitability of the system. But as you said there, like you have to sort of take the good with the bad, and like back to, I suppose, the headline at the moment you mentioned there is the price of calves in March. We probably had a similar conversation with our dairy calf to beef farmers last year. They commented that we'd buy calves possibly cheaper in alternative sources, and we probably made the same argument back. If they're happy with the quality of the calf, if they're happy with how well the calf is reared, and the management of the calf, it's probably worth getting given that small bit extra. That was last year, and probably a similar note this year for dairy farmers that are happy with the beef farmer. They'll come in and take the calves when they need the calves moved on. Like that relationship is definitely worth a fair bit to both parties, I think. Like.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you. To be fair, then Tommy, I suppose you're saying there that the lads that you're dealing with, they're not being overly selective, and that's another element of it, I suppose, in terms of that relationship, that they're coming in and they're taking 30, 40, 50 calves. They're not saying I'm taking those 10 and that 10 there. Just in terms of the relationship around the whole breeding policy that the lads that you're working with are engaging with the dairy farmers, like is there a better quality calf coming now because of maybe conversations that have been had? Maybe if you're in a position to comment, as I said, numbers aren't huge that have gone through the marts in the last week or 10 days or 2 weeks even. Just that the value of that CBV in terms of an extra couple of euro on the price, the value of that extra CBV then I suppose to your clients in the Dairy B500 as well in terms of the finished article that they're getting, because we're a couple of years down the road now with CBV, and Alan would have said it before, and I've heard you saying it too as well. Like, it was going to take a bit of time to wash through the system as such that we'd see the stock that we were talking about coming through. So some of those stock have been slaughtered now. More of them are beginning to be slaughtered. There's more numbers being looked at in terms of the impact of the CBV. So that better type of calf, one, are the lads getting to see that now because of the relationships that they do have with the dairy farmers that they're buying from? And just I suppose in general, are you kind of seeing that there's better calves coming through, or more better calves? I suppose maybe not all necessarily.
Yeah, no, there is. Look, at most definitely there is better calves, and our farmers will be look at aiming to buy that superior genetics calf. To be looking for that relatively well bred calf, and well reared calf. As regards, them the higher genetic beef murder animals on the CBV, is it working? Yeah, most definitely it is. It is. The data is you look at the data coming from ICBF, you even look at the data from Grange through Nicky Burns' work. There is the higher CBV animals are performing in terms of weight gain and in terms of age of slaughter. They're finishing earlier, which is the lower cost to the system, and they are there's differences there for on a 3 year period between Grange, and there was close to 15 20 kilos of carcass difference between your low CBV and high CBV animals, and obviously at today's price that's quite a substantial amount of, so that better reared calf or better genetic merged calf is definitely what our farmers are seeking towards, and they are having that conversation with dairy farmers, of trying to improve the genetic merit of that calf. And I suppose it's nearly cost neutral for the dairy farmer with regards, if they are using AI or that, it's nearly cost neutral with regards using a good beef type bull versus a poor quality beef type bull, provided that, they're happy with the gestation of that bull, they're happy with the calving difficulty of that bull, and they're happy with the reliability of that bull. So it is cost neutral, and the better beef calves are performing better across, and that's what our farmers are looking at. And even on our own program, we would see that with certain farmers, and not to name check a farmer, but James O'Sullivan there, who will be one of our most profitable dairy calf to beef farmers. James will be, buying them better type Angus type calves, and it's working well for him.
Yeah, I think he might have the advantage of knowing where they are too, does he? From
He does, yeah, he does.
um, so you said there, we'll say I'm just using €6 a kilo. Maybe I'm being a bit unfair on that, but like the 20 to 25 euros extra or kilos extra that Nicky was seeing in his trial work, that's €150. Is the shorter age to slaughter additional in terms of the reduction in cost associated with it then as well, or is that the total
Definitely,
return?
like look during the finishing period, if you can reduce the finishing period or even the age of the animal is on the farm, by say 3 4 weeks or that, it definitely is coming at a cost reduction. And an indoor period, generally it's when it's going to be, at least €2 to €3 per day, depending on the type of quality silage that the farmer is making and the level of concentrate input. But definitely it is coming at a significant reduction for the beef farmer that's finishing them animals. So it is a win-win on both sides. You have a higher carcass weight and you have a reduced cost in production.
Yeah, and I suppose actually, Tommy, people probably don't think of it from the dairy perspective anyway, for definite. Like, but that earlier age of slaughter is one of the key things that you have in your toolkit in relation to reducing greenhouse gas emissions from the beef enterprises. Um, that's a win-win for all farmers as well. Like to breed those better beef calves that finish quicker for the beef farmer. The beef farmer gets the benefit in terms of the reduced age of slaughter, which, as you've outlined there, maybe can save up to maybe 60, €90, depending on the finishing diet, etc.
Yeah.
And they're getting the benefit of the extra value in the carcass then as well, but they're also getting the benefit from the environmental point of view. But that actually feeds back to the dairy sector as well, in that the overall emissions from agriculture are being reduced by breeding those better calves as well.
Definitely, yeah. Like nationally, our average steer kill across the country is close to a little over 26 months, and we're reducing that by every month. Will obviously have a positive impact on our greenhouse gas emissions targets that, as you said, Irish agriculture has, and that's right across agriculture sectors, across your dairy sector, your beef sector, and the lower we can reduce that, the less of the impact we can have, and we can get, there's probably close, to 1.2 or so million calves born from the beef sired calves born from the dairy herd every year. You have your replacements in on top of that, but off them that's kept in the country, if we can reduce the age of slaughter off them, going forward, it's definitely going to have a major role to play in meeting our climate targets.
Very good. So, last question for you, so Tammy, for today is, if you were buying calves tomorrow, what would you be looking for? I suppose kind of your top three things that, as a calf buyer, that when you walk into a yard or walk into the mart, what are you looking for when you're looking at those calves?
Well, number one is a healthy calf. Like that's a given. So a healthy calf, no visible signs of any diseases, relaxed breathing, good bright eye, all that sort of thing. That you look at the calf, a nice dry navel. So that's number one. That's the basic. Because you don't bring home that animal. If that animal is sick or compromised, their performance will be reduced going forward. But also you're at running the risk of bringing something back into your own farm. So that's a given. Number two is a calf. With sire recorded against them, so that what sort of a sire that's recorded against that calf, and it's accurately recorded, and it's crucial. Yeah, like it's if you're buying a calf that you don't know the sire, the genetic make of them, you're essentially buying an unknown animal, and that's crucially important as well. And then look at the last thing, like the cheap calf isn't always the good calf. So, you have, yes, well, you have a price that you have in your head, and stick to that. But you definitely will be saying to farmers, to do up their sums and do up their figures and have a price that they can give for the calf going forward, do up their figures and what their predicted breed price, do a couple of scenarios and stick to that. So have a price in your head, but don't compromise on quality to meet a price. Don't compromise on the health of the calf, and don't compromise on the genetic merit of the calf, just to stick in your budget. Like,
Okay, very good, Tommy. That's excellent advice. So we leave it at that, Tommy, and best of luck to all your guys and all the farmers out there that are buying calves, obviously, for this year, and to the dairy farmers that are selling them. And hopefully everybody will get on well about it and works well for both sides. Yeah.
thanks for having me.
That's all for this week's episode of the Dairy Edge podcast, and my thanks to Tommy Cox for joining me on this week's show. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. You can listen on Apple and Google Podcasts as well as Spotify. And for more information, go to the Teagasc website at teagasc.ie. You can also email us on our dedicated email address, dairyedge.podcast@teagasc.ie. I'm Stuart Childs, and join us next time for your Dairy Edge.